so good morning everyone. So let's get started with today's session, and today we are going to talk about Hadoop commands. So in our previous session we discussed how to install Hadoop, a single node Hadoop, right, in your Ubuntu system. So now what I'm expecting is we all have installed Hadoop in our virtual machine, and our Hadoop is up and running. All the daemons are up and running, name node, secondary name node, and all, right? And we are good to get started. So now you have a machine on which Hadoop is installed, right? And let's say you have started that Hadoop system. You have executed the command start all.sh, right? And your Hadoop services are up and running. Now what we will do is we want to perform all the operations in this Sdfs, right? So most like common thing that you do in your Sdfs is you put the data into Sdfs, you bring the data from Sdfs, and so on, right? So as I have told you in the previous videos that there are some commands which can be used to copy the data. So copy the data. Now see, you have your Ubuntu system, right? And under this Ubuntu you have Hadoop services running, right? So you have Hadoop services here, okay? And now you will open your terminal command prompt, right? Your terminal, and from your terminal you will start writing your command Hadoop fs hyphen this, Hadoop fs hyphen that, right? So that is what we are going to see in detail today. And how it works in the real time, let me also give you that idea, right? So in real time you will have a lot of nodes in your Hadoop cluster. Okay, so now this is, let's say, cluster, and let's say this is your I would say dev cluster. Let's say this is your dev cluster. Similarly you will have other cluster as well, and let's say this is your prod cluster. Let's say this is your prod cluster, okay? And then you can have multiple prod cluster as well. So I can say this is a prod 1 cluster, right? Prod 2 cluster, and so on. Now at your company level, right, in your company you will be basically given access to one system, and this system is basically called as edge node, okay, or gateway node. So these systems are basically called as edge node or gateway node, and all the developers, everybody is given access to such nodes, okay? And you can log into this node, you can create files and folders here easily, and then you will submit your command, your Hadoop commands here, and that will go and hit your cluster. What I'm trying to tell you is no way out you will get access to your cluster directly, okay? All you have is edge node, and edge node you can consider it as a system, a Linux box wherein you can log in through your putty, right? Or you can do SCP, whatever you want to do, you can do that, right? So you can do SSH, you can do SCP to copy the data, and once you are in this node, then you can fire the commands, right? So you will be able to execute all your Hadoop commands from here. You'll be able to submit your Hadoop job from here. You'll be able to launch your Hive from here. So everything can be done from this edge node only, okay? And then whatever command you have executed, that will go and get triggered in your dev cluster or prod cluster, and so on. And there are in fact multiple such edge nodes. There are multiple such edge nodes which are configured with various different clusters, right? So let's move on. So today we'll have more on screen sharing, where I'll show you all the practical possible commands. So let's go back to the laptop now. Okay, so now I have just started my screen share, and let's get started with all possible Hadoop commands. So I'll go back to my Dropbox, Hadoop, December this, and we are going to learn Hadoop commands. All right. So at the same time, let me start my virtual machine. All right. Okay, so we are in our Ubuntu now, right? And the first thing first, open your terminal, Control Alt and T will give you a terminal, right? And the first thing what you should do is check if your Hadoop is up and running or not. Definitely not, because we have just restarted our system. And then I'll say start all.sh. Okay, Control L to clear the screen. Okay, Control L to clear the screen. Okay, so yeah, so now let's get started, guys, with all our commands, right? So we are into our Ubuntu system, and let me go through the document and we will go step by step. Okay, now the first thing what I want to do is I want to create a directory in Sdfs. I want to create a directory in Sdfs, right? So the command is hadoop fs -mkdir. Let me zoom this. Yeah. So the command is hadoop fs -mkdir and the folder name. Okay. So what is a SDFS? SDFS is basically a file system, is not it? And the way you can interact to SDFS is by using hadoop fs command, right? Hadoop fs -mkdir. And now I'll say I want to create a folder. Let me create the same folder, data1. Data1. Okay, now it will not say folder created successfully, it will just give you a new line, right? Which means your folders are created successfully. Now we will go and verify that also, right? So we have created a folder called data1 in our SDFS. Okay, now where exactly, where is the path, right? That is a question you may have. So when you create a folder data1, by default it goes to the current user. And who is your current user in this case? Your current user in this case is SD user, because while you created a Hadoop cluster, you have created a user called SD user. Okay, now how do you see that? You can just say Hadoop fs-ls. Just say Hadoop fs-ls, right? And if you see, you have data1 which is freshly created today. Okay, now when Hadoop 1 came into the market, when Hadoop 1 started, this used to be the command Hadoop fs-mkdir. Okay, but in Hadoop 2 this command was renamed, and now you can use SDFS DFS. Instead of Hadoop fs, instead of Hadoop you will say SDFS, and instead of fs you will say DFS. Rest all will remain same. So even if you do this, this will do the same thing. It will create a folder called data11. It will create a folder called data11. Okay, now again let us see Hadoop fs-ls. See, data1 and data11, both the folders are created, and these folders are actually in your SDFS. You will not see if you just do ls, right? These folders are present in your SDFS. That means it is present in a distributed file system somewhere, right? And you really don't care in which node it has really gone. In my case, it is a single node, right? But in the real time, when you do this, you really don't care where exactly these folders are all created. But let me tell you, these folders are just a logical entity, right? It does not go and create any files anywhere. It's not it, because this is just a folder. Okay. Now let's move on. So you can also do something like this. Okay, so for example, if I have a requirement of creating folder inside that subfolder, then you may try this command. You'll say Hadoop fs, or you can say SDFS DFS, okay, -mkdir, and let's say I'll say data2, inside that data3, then inside that data4. I want to create a folder in this structure. Okay, And if you try to do this, then it will not, it will fail. It will say, hey, see, it says, hey, you want to create a data 4, I understand, inside data 3, but they do not exist, right? So if you want to create a folder in such a way that you want to give a complete path and you want Hadoop to take care of it automatically, right? Which means Hadoop should first create this folder, then Hadoop should create this folder, then Hadoop should finally create this folder, then you must append -p. Okay, so let me just say this, or in the previous command you just go back and just say -p, and that should work. This will create data 2 folder, inside that data 3 folder, and inside that data 4 folder. So our Hadoop folders and subfolders are also created, right? Whereas if you do something like this, you'll say data 21 space data 31 space data 41, then it can create all these folders at the same time. Okay, so again I'll say Hadoop fs-ls. Now you see you have data 21, you have data 31, you have data 41, right? Whereas you had created a nested folder inside this data too. So I can say Hadoop fs-ls, show me the content of data 2. It will show you data 3. Okay, again you will say from data to data 3, show me the content of data 3. It will show you data 4. Right? Again you may say from data 2, data 3, data 4, show me the content. It will say I did not find anything because there is nothing inside it. Okay, so this is how you will basically create a directory in your Sdfs. Okay, next. Now listing the files and directory in Sdfs. As I've told that you can use a command called ls, right? Hadoop fs-ls will give you the list of all the files and folders present inside the current directory, right? So Hadoop fs-ls by default will give you the details of /user sd user because you have logged into the system using your sd user. Okay, now in the real time when you work for a company, when you log into the edge node, whatever we discussed, when you log into your edge node, everybody will have their own user name, right? So for example, say my full name is 𝗀𝗲𝗃𝗏𝗃, right? So I will be getting one account called 𝗀𝗃_𝗃𝗏𝗃, and if I say Hadoop fs-ls, that will always go and show me the output of /user/𝗀𝗃_𝗃𝗏𝗃, right? Similarly, if your name is Pratap Singh, right, then when you say Hadoop fs-ls, then it will give you all the output of /user/Pratap_Singh, right? So likewise, when you this command gives you the output based on your user details. Okay, done. And again, as I said, Hadoop fs is replaced by Sdfs. So both of this would give you the same output, right? So if I say Hadoop fs-ls, or if I say Sdfs dfs-ls, both will give you the same output, right? Okay, now which command should you use, the older one or newer one? Really does not matter. Okay, so you can either use Hadoop fs command or you can use Sdfs dfs command. That's absolutely okay. All right, now you can also say Sdfs dfs-ls and then dot. When you say dot, that means current user, and who is the current user in this case? SD user, right? So this will also give you the same output. What I'm trying to tell you is all these three will give you the same output. Okay, all right. Now, as you know, your Sdfs is basically what? Basically, it is a file system, right? So let me go back. Okay, so Sdfs is basically a file system, right? So I'll just erase this, and let me just have one cluster. Okay, so this is our cluster, and we have created Sdfs from this cluster, right? So we have created Sdfs from this cluster, is not it? Now, just like your Linux, in Linux everything starts by a slash, right? This slash is basically the root directory. Is not it? Similarly, in your Hadoop file system, you have slash. Okay. Now, when you say Hadoop fs -ls, right? And when you hit enter, what it gives you? It gives you the output of /user /hd user in my case, because my current user is SD user. So now if you can also say, instead of this, you can say Hadoop fs -ls/, and when you say slash, it will go and check what is the content in the slash. And what is this slash? This slash is basically the beginning of the file system in your Hadoop as well. Okay, so in Linux also the story is same. So see, for example, inside this slash, what do you have? This is your main, the root. The slash is basically your root, the beginning of your file system. So when you say slash, then you will see all the directories been listed. Okay, so right now /user is one such folder. And inside this slash, if you see inside this slash, we have something called user folder, right? Inside this user folder, you have SD user. Is not it? So similarly, when you say Hadoop fs -ls/, then it gives you what is the content in this slash. Inside this slash, you may have other folders as well, and let us go and see that. Okay, so I'm going back here. Our SD user is basically a single node cluster, but in the real time, if you see this kind of configuration, then you should not get confused, right? So in our case, it is basically a single node, but the same command will work as it is even if you are dealing with a multi-node cluster. Okay, and as I told you, all you get is basically a edge node, and all your operations would remain same, right? Okay, I'm going back here. So share screen. All right. Okay, so let's talk about this Hadoop fs -ls/, and let me go back to Ubuntu. Hadoop fs -ls, and I'm saying slash. Tell me what is there in the root, very much root of our SDFS. Okay, so if you see in my slash, it says I have TMP folder and I have user folder. Okay, and of course this word2.txt and word data I have created some time back, and that's the reason you are able to see it here. Okay, now you may ask, can I create a one folder inside this slash? Yes, you can. Okay, we'll do that also. Okay, so what we saw is, we saw that there are some folders, right? So you see the output here and output there could vary because of various reasons, but that's okay. It is giving us the output what is present in our slash folder. Okay, now you can also say Hadoop fs -ls data2 / data3. Okay, so let's do this. I'll say Hadoop fs -ls show me inside data2 data3. And if you remember, we had created data4 inside data2 and data3, right? Now have a look on this. This path does not start with slash, right? This path does not start with slash, which means if you do not start your path with slash, then it will always default to /user SD user. What I'm trying to tell you is, if you have a data, right? If you have a data where, if you say Hadoop fs, let me write it down here, Hadoop fs -ls, okay, and you just give a name, let's say data, right? So you have not given any path, right? You have not started something with slash. So if you don't start anything with slash, then by default what it will assume, that you want to look into /user /hd user. This would be the default path which would be considered to check your files and folders. Okay, now let's move on. See, when you do this, then it gives you the output like this, right? Data2 data3 data4 Hadoop fs -ls. Okay, now similarly, let's do something like this. I want to see the files and folders recursively. I want to see files and folders recursively. Then what you can do, you can say Hadoop fs -ls, but there is a small r, okay, which will show you the files and folders recursively. So let me do this. Okay, and let's say enter. Okay, so it has given me all the files and folders recursively, like all the possible files and folders recursively one by one. Okay, all the files and folders recursively one by one. For example, it's saying you under slash user sd user you have data 1, you have data 1 you have data 2, and inside this data 2 you have data 3, inside this data 3 you also have data 4, you have data 21, you have data 31, you have data 41, and so on. Okay, and as it has suggested that this is deprecated, and if you want to really do this, you can use -r, but again this can be replaced with SDFS and DFS, right? So you can say SDFS, DFS, -ls, -R, and your path where you want to recursively find the files and folders. Okay. All right. Now let me do one thing. Let me try to create a folder. Okay. I want to create a folder under slash directly. So my command would be Hadoop fs -mkdir and slash, I'll say data 234. So see, you are doing all these operations in SDFS, right? So you will fire all these commands from your edge node. Okay, and for your like for your comfort, I can say consider this Ubuntu terminal as your edge node. Consider this Ubuntu terminal is your edge node. Whatever command you are writing here, you will use edge node to write all these commands, and they will go and hit your SDFS. Okay. All right. So now let's do this. So I have created created a folder called data 234 in my Hadoop file system, right? But under the main directory itself, under slash. So let's see that. I'll say Hadoop fs -ls and I'll say slash. Now you should see 234 is also created here, right? So the moment you give slash, it becomes absolute path. Now if I just say 235, and if I don't give this, then it creates the file and folder under slash user sd user, right? So now if I say Hadoop fs -ls slash, you should not see 235 here. Instead you should get 235 here. See, you'll get 235 here, and this is basically you are saying Hadoop fs -ls slash user slash sd user, because you have not given anything, right? So if you don't give anything, then it defaults to slash user slash sd user. Okay, and if you give any path, then it will default to that particular path. I hope you all are clear enough with what exactly I'm discussing. Okay, let's move on. Now we will learn how to copy a file from a local to SDFS. Okay, so what is local here? Local here is Ubuntu. Okay, so now see, think it like, you can just think it like you have Ubuntu, one file system we have, and let's assume we have another system which is running together, and that is your SDFS. Okay, and you can, for the time being, you can consider SDFS is present in somewhere else and it is not in Ubuntu. For the timing, you can think about it. Okay, and let us assume this is basically your edge node where you logged in. Okay, you logged in using your credentials through PuTTY. Okay, so this is a screen which will connect you to the SDFS cluster. Okay, now we will try to see how do you put a file into your SDFS, right? So before putting a file, what we will do is let us create a file. Okay, so I'll go with the document so that everything looks same. So the document says create a file called word1.txt under /home sd user. So let me check my pwd /home sd user. I am inside my /home sd user, and let me create a a file called word1.txt. Okay, so there are many ways to create word file. So I can say vim word1.txt. Okay, and it got opened, and we have something here, apple ball, we have written something, but let me just say wq, and I'll remove this first, word1.txt. Okay, assuming that nothing is there, and let me create a Word document, word1.txt. Okay, now I'll press I to bring it into insert mode, and if you see, insert mode is activated. Now I'll start writing here. I'll say apple ball, enter, apple ball cat, enter, cat ball, apple, ball. Okay, and then I'll say escape, and then I'll press, when you press escape, see the insert mode is gone, and then you say :wq, enter, right? So you have created a file called word1.txt, but where have you created this? You have created this in your local machine, okay, or edge node, let's say, right? Edge node. So local machine. Now if I say ls-ltr, you will see word1.txt. I have done ls here. Okay, don't get confused. I have done ls. I did not say Hadoop fs-ls. If I say Hadoop fs-ls, then it will give me the content of Hadoop file system. But if I say ls, then it will give me the content of Linux file system. Okay, so we have word1.txt, and I want to put this word1.txt into my Sdfs. Okay, so see, there are various ways of creating a file. I have used vim to create a file. Otherwise, you could have done something like this as well. Okay, you could have said echo hello world. That means this hello world should be given to a file called word1.txt. And if you say cat word1.txt, it will show you the content. This will also do the same thing. Okay, now our requirement is we want to store this word1.txt, right, into our Sdfs. So let's do that. Okay, let's do that. So what I'll do is I'll say Hadoop fs-put. This is the command, Hadoop fs-put. What is the file name? word1.txt. Okay, where it is present? It is present in your present working directory, is not it? And that is the reason writing the whole path is optional in this case, because my word1.txt is present here itself. So if I just say pwd, okay, my present working directory is Hadoop /home/sduser, right? And if I say ls-ltr, I have word1.txt here itself in the current working directory, and that's the reason Hadoop fs-put, when you do, you can directly say word1.txt. Okay, you can just directly say word1.txt. You really don't have to give the complete file path name. Okay, so Hadoop fs-put word1.txt. Where do you want to store? Okay, I may say, let me try this. I will say I want to store this content in word2.txt. Okay, I want to store this data in word2.txt. So I'll say word2.txt. Okay, now it says it did not give you any error. It is just an info. Okay, it did not give you any error, which means your file word1.txt is copied to word2.txt. So this is your source and this is your destination, right? And the destination is always Sdfs here, right? Because you are trying to put the data from local file system to your Sdfs. Okay, now where should you go and check this file word2.txt? So have you given any complete path name here? No, right? Do you have anything called /? No. That means by default, this operation should take place in /user sduser, right? So let's say Hadoop fs-ls, okay, and let me just hit enter. Okay, now I can see there is word2.txt, right? Now here I can see there is word2.txt. Okay, so if you want to see the content, you can see the content. I'll say Hadoop fs-cat word2.txt, right? So you can see the content of that file as well. So, right, so what I'm trying to tell you is this command has copied the data from your local file system to your Sdfs. Okay, now in case your file is present somewhere else, not in the current working directory, then you can give the complete path name. You can say I want to get the file from /home sduser desktop, Okay, there is a file called word1.txt, and I want this file to be kept with the name word2.txt. Okay, done. Now let me do it like this. I'll say Hadoop fs-ls. Okay, now if you see, I have word2.txt. I'll try to trigger it again. I'll say Hadoop fs-put word1.txt. Okay, and let me just say enter. Okay, let me just say enter. So what happened here is Hadoop fs-put word1.txt. I wanted to upload it into Sdfs, and I have not given my destination path, right? Let's see what happened. Hadoop fs-ls. Okay, now if you see, word1.txt is copied here, which means your destination is not mandatory, and by default it will always default to the current user's home location, right? So the current user's home location. So when you say Hadoop fs-put word1.txt, it will directly write this data into your /user sd user. Okay, so I'll just add this point in the document as well. Let me go back and say if no destination is provided, it will write the data in /user /sd user in our case, right? All right, next let's move on. Copy multiple files from local to Sdfs, which means I have multiple file in my local file system and I want to copy them into my Sdfs, right? So let's do what? Let us create a folder in Sdfs first. Control L. Okay, see here, I'm creating a folder Hadoop fs-mkdir /word data, right? Enter. Okay, it says it already exists, so let me delete it first. Hadoop fs-rmr /word data. Okay, so let me create a folder called word data. So this word data I'm creating inside my /, not in your /user sd user, right? So I'm creating it under my /. Done. Next, now let me create few files in my local. Okay, so I'll say echo, let me copy this. I'm saying echo word3 to a file called word3.txt. The meaning of this line is write word3 inside word3.txt. So when you do this, it creates a file called word3.txt. Inside that, word3 is written. So if you say cat word3.txt, the content of this file is word3. Okay, this is what we have done here. All right, next again let me create a file called word4. Okay, and I'll write word4 inside that. So I'll just say word4 and let me write word4 inside that. So I created another file word4.txt. Inside that I have written word4, right? All right, done. Now what I'll do is I can use a command called Hadoop fs-put, right? So here I've just changed it to Sdfs dfs, as I have told you, both are same. So you can say Sdfs dfs -put or Hadoop fs-put word3.txt as well as word4.txt. So which means you are specifying multiple source and you are specifying a single destination. That's not it. So you're trying to write multiple files into the same location. So let's do this. Okay, so Hadoop fs-put word3.txt word4.txt inside /word data. Done. So it has not given us any problem. Right now let's see, let's say Hadoop fs-ls /word data. Okay, so if you see, you have got word3.txt and you have got word4.txt. So these two files are created, copied inside word data, right? Similarly, you have also a command, there is a command called put, and there is also a command called copy from local. Okay, so sdfs dfs hyphen copy from local word3.txt word4.txt. Let's try this out. Okay, and let me not give that dot, let me just say it like this. Okay, so what I've done is I have said Hadoop fs hyphen copy from local word3.txt word4.txt, and I've not given anything. So what do you think it will do? So can I say that it might have copied word3.txt as well as word4.txt under slash user sd user? Let us try to check that out. So I'll say Hadoop fs hyphen ls, okay, and just say hit enter. So okay, so technically we are looking for word3 as well as word4. So let's see that. Okay, let's see that. So I can see word4, but I did not see word3. Why? Because see, this is your Hadoop fs hyphen put command, right? Wherein this becomes your source and this becomes your destination. Okay, so don't get confused. If you don't specify the destination, then this will be treated as your destination, right? So what happened here is word3.txt is copied into word4.txt in your SDFS. So I repeat it again, word3.txt from your local file system is copied as word4.txt in your SDFS. Okay, and what are you supposed to do is you are actually supposed to give a dot if you want to say these are my multiple sources and this is my single destination. So yeah, so that is what it does, right? So let me hit enter and let me also add this out. So I'll just add this command here and paste. Okay, now let me say this will copy word3.txt into word4.txt in SDFS. This will copy from local into word4.txt in SDFS. Okay, so these two command is slightly different, and the only difference is by this dot. All right, next, copy the data from a file present in tar.gz. This is really tricky, and let us understand what exactly it does. Okay, now assume you have a folder called data in desktop. Let's go through the document step by step. Okay, the document says assume you have a folder called data in desktop. Let's go back. We will not assume, we will create one, right? So you can go to this desktop and create a folder called data. Let me remove everything from here. New folder, data, which contains a file called fruit.txt. So we'll go inside this data and let's create a file. So you can create a file, you know, like this, a new file from here also. Let me check new folder. It is not giving me option that to create a file here. That's okay. So what I'll do is I'll just see this is my data folder, right? And what I'll do is I'll just log in to terminal. Okay, now I'm inside my data, right? And it's saying, the document says, let's create a file called fruit.txt, right? Create a file called fruit.txt. How do you create a file? You can say vim fruit. Let me check if it is fruit or fruits. It is fruits.txt. Okay, and let's write something on it. So we will write apple, banana, and mango. Okay, I just want to keep it same. Yeah, so press I, your insert mode is activated here, and right click and say paste. Okay, and then give escape, your insert mode will be gone, and then say colon and WQ, the file is saved, right? This is one way of writing a data into a file. The other way would be like this. So see, echo cricket, football, hockey 2. In your desktop, you have data folder. Inside that, create a sports.txt and write your data there. Okay, so this path will not be mandatory right now because I'm already inside my data folder, right? So this will also work. All right, at the end of the day, just say ls. So you'll see fruit.txt and sports.txt both are present in my data folder. Done. Okay, now what we will do is let us create a zip file out of it. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go back to the desktop. So cd dot dot, and I'm inside my desktop. ls, I have a data folder here. Okay, so I want to create a tar.gz from this data folder first. So let me do this. Done. ls. So what I have now is I have a folder called data.tar.gz which contains two files, fruits.txt and sports.txt, right? So this is what I wanted to first create. I wanted to create a zip file from first. Okay, now let us assume that this zip file is anything. This zip file could be your production logged zip or anything. Okay, now the requirement is from this zip file I want to copy only one file to Sdfs. I want to copy only one file from this Sdfs. Now you can assume that this zip file contains a huge lot of data, and you're not interested in all this data. You are just interested in a particular file and you don't want to unzip it. Okay, you just want to read the data from this zip file and directly store that data into your Sdfs. How do you even do that? Okay, so let's see that. Now I will create a folder called fruits and sports in my Sdfs, right? Sdfs fs-mkdir. I have not given any complete path name. So this will create two folders, fruits and sports under /user sd user. Is not it? Enter. Done. So if you want to see, you can say Hadoop fs-ls. You should see fruits and sports folder are here. Fruits and sports folders are created here. Okay. Next. Now what we will do is here, I'm saying tar 𝗥𝗲𝗴𝗶, okay, data.tar.gz. This is basically the zip file. Inside that zip file, I'm saying there is a folder called data. Inside that folder, you have fruits.txt. I want it to be exported, and the output of it should go to Hadoop fs-put on this particular location. So simply put, what I'm saying is I want to extract the content of this file, and this content should be given to Hadoop fs-put command, which will eventually put the data to your Sdfs. Okay. Now see, whenever we used Hadoop fs-put, right, we always used to say Hadoop fs-put source and destination. Here the source is what? Minus, right? So minus means whatever comes to me from some other like a job. So in this case, if you see, this is basically, there is basically a pipe separator, and these pipe separators are basically a kind of, you can say, statement separator in your Linux, right? So the output of previous will come as input to this. So this hyphen will get the content from this. Okay, so let's try this out. Okay, so remember we have created fruits and sports, and you don't see anything inside these fruits right now. Okay, similarly you don't see anything under sports right now. So let's run this command now, wherein I'm saying tar 𝗥𝗲𝗴𝗶 data.tar.gz, and from there you will get fruit.txt, extract all these things and send the output to your Hadoop fs-put command and store it under your data.fruits. All right, now let's check this out. Okay, now if you see, fruit.txt is uploaded from a zip file, right? So what I'm trying to tell you is I have extracted a file from zip tar.gz, right? And I have just uploaded only that file in my Sdfs. This will be very, very useful when you have a big file and you really don't want to, like upload everything. You just want to upload one file out of it, right? So let's do the same thing with the other one. Fruits we have done. Let's do the same thing with other one. So this time I'm extracting the content of sports.txt and storing it on sports.txt, right? So it's done. Now I'll say Hadoop fs hyphen ls, and I'll just say sports, right? This is as same as saying as slash user slash sd user slash sports, right? Both of them will give you the same output. All right, now let's move to the next thing, reading Hadoop files. Okay, reading Hadoop files. So there is a command Hadoop fs-cat to read the data from Hadoop. Okay, so if you have a file and you want to just read the file, then you can say Hadoop fs-cat, right? So now I'm trying to read the data from fruits folder. Inside that fruits folder, there is a file called fruits.txt. So the complete path here would be slash user slash sd user, right, slash fruits.txt, and the output is apple, ball, and mango. Okay. Now similarly, there is also a command called Hadoop fs-text. So you can either say cat or you can either say text, and both of them will be able to give you the same output. Hadoop fs-text will give you the output of the content of a file similar to your cat, right? So this can also be done, right? So this has also given you the output of sports.txt. Okay. Now in the previous example, we had seen something like Hadoop fs-put then minus, right? Let us understand what exactly it is. Okay. Now what I'll do is, let me try this out. Suppose the requirement here is I want to create a file in Sdfs demo.txt, but I want to take the input from keyboard, let's assume, right? So you can use this hyphen command here. So let's do that out. Okay, Hadoop fs-put, and I'm saying minus, right, or hyphen, and then I'm saying demo.txt. That means this is a source and this is your destination, right? Okay, hit enter. Okay, when you hit enter, it is actually waiting for you. Okay, it is waiting for you to give the input. Now I'll say hello world, how are you, this is Hadoop class. Okay, so it is waiting for me to give input as much as I can. Okay, it is waiting for me to give input as much as I can. So keep writing your data, and when you are done, press Ctrl+C to save it. It will be saved with extension _copying_. So let's say Ctrl+C, done. So I'm expecting this data to go into demo.txt. So let's say Hadoop fs-ls, enter. Okay, now see demo.txt _copying_, right? So it has saved the data to demo.txt _copying_, and if you see, there is some content in this. This is the size of the file, right? So there is some content in this, and if you want to check, you can say Hadoop fs-cat demo.txt star. You can also do it like this, right? And if you see hello world, how are you, this is Hadoop class. So what we have learned is, we have learned that it is possible to take the input from your keyboard also, right? But see, you may say, hey, this really does not make any sense, because nobody will be copying, nobody would be typing a lot of data from their hand. But look into this, right? It is useful in such cases where you have a file in some something, and you want to output that file, and you want to put that file into your Sdfs, right? So that is one use case where you can see this hyphen symbol can be really useful. Okay, now there is a command called put to put the data, and there is a command called copy from local, right, to put the data, right? So what is the difference between this put and copy from local? Okay, so I would say they are really not so different. Okay, the only difference is when you say copy from local, you are restricted to take the input only from your local file system. Okay, when you are using copy from local, you are restricted to take the input only from local file system, that is edge node in your case, right? When you say put, you will have an option to take the source from other location other than the local file system, right? However, I'm sure you will, I always use put, every time I want to store the data, because most of the time my data are always in edge node. I bring it from somewhere and I keep it on my edge node, whatever data I want to copy it into Sdfs, right? So mostly you will be using put. You can also use the same for copy to do the work using copy from local. But why would you write so long to perform the put operations, right? So both of them can be used interchangeably. However, I prefer using put every time. Okay, so I have not tested. I don't think this works with copy from local. I have never done it. So let's try it out. Let's see whether it works or not. Copy from local, right? So let me go back here, and here I'll say Hadoop fs hyphen copy from local. Let's try copy from local, and we'll say demo2.txt. Okay, hello world. This is another attempt. Okay, and control C. All right, and we'll say Hadoop fs hyphen ls, enter. Let's see what happens. Okay, so it is still working, right? So this will also do. So let me put here, and I would say the above command will also work with copy from local, right? So whether you write put or whether you write copy from local, both of them would give you the same output. Here let me say copy from local. Okay, so likewise, whatever I'm doing, you should also do all the steps one by one. All right, let's move on. So yeah, so if you go to the code base, if you go to the code base, and if you see, you will see that copy from local is actually extending put. Okay, so put can be used to copy the data from various source to destination, but copy from local is restricted only to copy the data from your local file system, and of course standard outputs, right? So that is what the difference is. Otherwise both of them are same, and you can use both of them interchangeably. Okay, now let's take another example, another use case where I'm saying append multiple local file and upload it into a single file in Sdfs. So we all know that Sdfs is not meant for huge number of files, right? And it is always recommended that you try to store data in small number of files, right? Don't create a lot of files in your Sdfs. And why? Because every file you create will have metadata stored, and those metadata would occupy space in your name node memory, right? And that's the reason we always recommend that you don't create huge number of files. So sometimes there could be a requirement where you want to append multiple files into a single file. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go back to my desktop. ls, we have created data, right, where I have fruits.txt and I have sports.txt, and I want to append both these files, and the output of both these files should be written into a single file. So we will use a command called Hadoop fs-append2 file. Okay, so say paste Hadoop fs hyphen, sorry, this did not get pasted. I'll go back to this place. Yeah, so say paste. Now I'm saying Hadoop fs-append2 file, fruit.txt, sports.txt, concatenate the content of this file and store it in a file called fruits.txt in Sdfs. These are Sdfs path, right? Enter. Okay, done. Now what we'll do is we'll say Hadoop fs-ls because I'm sure this might have got copied into your Sdfs. So see here, you have fruits and sports.txt, which is of 43 size, right? Now let's say Hadoop fs-cat, and I'll say fruits underscore sp, and I'll just say star. Okay, that should also be okay. So if you see, we were able to get the output from fruits underscore sports.txt, and this is what the output is, right? So you have got apple, ball, banana, mango, and you've also got cricket, football, and hockey. So this is how you have copied multiple files into a single file in your Sdfs, multiple file from your local edge node to your single file in your Sdfs.